It was 6:42 p.m. when the hospital called. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, the kind that never brings good news. "Mr. Alcott, this is St. Mark's Emergency Department. Your son, Ryan, was brought in a few minutes ago. He's stable for now, but we need a parent here." I remember repeating those words in my head like they were a riddle I couldn't quite solve. Stable for now. The kind of phrase that throws your whole body into a tremor, even as the world around you keeps pretending nothing's wrong. I didn't panic. That's not who I am. I drove like hell, sure, but my mind was locked in, clear, focused. And somewhere between the screech of tires and the blast of wind through my open window, I sent the message. A simple text to my wife, Carla. "My son is in the emergency room." I didn't get an immediate reply. That wasn't out of character. But when it did come, for minutes later, the words weren't what any parent would expect. Or maybe I should say, not what any decent human being would say. "I'm busy with my parents, we're having dinner." No question about what happened. No panic. No, which hospital? Or, is he okay? Just cold dinner and colder priorities. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. I wanted to scream through the pixels, to throw my phone out the window, to march into that restaurant and drag her out by the wrist like I was putting out a damn fire. But I didn't. Because Ryan needed me. And because something inside me had finally snapped. I don't know when exactly I stopped being her husband and started being her wallet. But I do know when I realized it. That moment, right there in the ER parking lot. Watching her text me back with the same energy she gives a grocery list. I walked into that emergency room with one hand holding my phone and the other clenched into a fist. Not out of rage, but out of restraint. Ryan was okay. Thank God. Sprained wrist, minor concussion. Some punk at school had decided to shove him down a stairwell during a fight. No adult supervision, no cameras. Just a broken kid sitting on a plastic mattress under fluorescent lights. I sat next to him for hours while he dozed, holding on to consciousness like a thread. Meanwhile, she was out drinking Merlot with her parents like the world was just peachy. And when I called to give her the update, she didn't answer. Texted instead. "I'm sure he'll be fine. I'll call later." Later. Now here's the thing. Her parents never liked Ryan. Never accepted him. Her mother called him too emotional. Her father, a burden. My kid. My blood. But of course, I was always too sensitive when I pointed that out. She used to say I was projecting. But that night, it wasn't projection. It was proof. Because sometime after midnight, when I was finally home and Ryan was asleep upstairs, I found the group chat. She left her laptop open on the kitchen table. Her mother had messaged something like, "Maybe this scare will toughen up the little crybaby. You should focus on yourself more, Carla." And Carla? She liked the message. Didn't even bother hiding it. She used to beg me to co-sign loans for her parents when they hit a rough patch a few years back. Said they needed help, that family looked out for each other. Well, I looked out. I co-signed the mortgage on their lake house. Got them a new Toyota when the old one gave out. Even added her mom to one of my credit card accounts, just in case of emergencies. That night, I logged into every financial account they were tied to. And I cut them off. Every single one. I canceled their mortgage autopay. Froze the car loan. Disconnected every credit card extension tied to my name. Left a neat little note taped to the fridge. "You had dinner. I had clarity. Good luck." Then I turned off my phone and slept like a damn baby for the first time in 2 years. Morning light hit our kitchen like a prison spotlight. I sat at the counter, drinking black coffee, no cream, no sugar, the way I used to drink it before I started watering myself down to match her life. The first notification hit around 7:13 a.m. Bank of Westford. Scheduled mortgage payment failed due to insufficient funds. Please contact your loan officer immediately. I smiled into my mug. 7:22 a.m. Another one. First American Auto. Auto loan payment overdue. Late fees may apply. By 7:35, the first phone call came in. Caller ID, mother-in-law. I let it ring out. I wasn't in the business of customer service anymore. And then, the screaming started. Carla burst through the kitchen like a hurricane, her hair still wild from sleep, a silk robe half falling off one shoulder. She didn't look worried about Ryan, mind you, no, not a tear, not a question. She looked worried about them. "What did you do?" she screeched, her voice bouncing off the granite countertops. I leaned back against the counter, mug in hand. Calm. Unshakable. "I took care of the real emergency," I said. Her hands flew to her hips, disbelief etched in every line of her face. "You can't just cancel everything. My parents. Your parents. I cut her off, my voice ice over steel. Raised a woman who leaves her injured son alone so she can have steak and Cabernet. That's not fair, she snapped. And God, the audacity of it almost made me laugh. Almost. No, I said quietly. What's not fair is a little boy crying for his mother in a sterile ER room while she's too busy laughing at his pain. Her face twisted into something ugly, part guilt, part rage, all desperation. She knew she was losing control, and control was the only thing she ever truly cared about. You're blowing this out of proportion, she spat. Ryan's fine. He wasn't dying. And my parents need that support. You're being petty, childish, vindictive. And what were they being? I asked, setting the mug down with a soft clink. When they called my son a crybaby and told you to focus on yourself. When you liked the message like it was a cute cat meme. Her mouth snapped shut. Good. I wasn't done. You wanted independence? I said, stepping closer, voice low and even. You got it. Your parents wanted to act like leeches? Let them survive without the host. She opened her mouth again, probably to spit another excuse or some half-baked manipulation. But this time I raised a hand and cut her off. One more thing, I said, almost gently. I pulled a small stack of papers from the drawer and dropped them on the counter between us. Divorce papers. Neat, pristine. Final. Her face went white. No shrieking now. No bravado. Just the sudden, crushing realization that the life she knew, the life she used my loyalty to build, was over. You can have the house, I said casually. You can have the furniture. Take your designer bags, your fancy plates, your mother's hand-me-down snobbery. I'm keeping Ryan. The blood drained from her face faster than a bullet leaves a barrel. You can't just. I can, I said. And I am. Court documents are ready. I have the texts. I have the proof. And sweetheart. I leaned in so close she could smell the finality on my breath. Judges don't take kindly to mothers who ditch their kids for dinner parties. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the door. Call a lawyer, I said as I walked out. You'll need one. The door shut behind me with a soft click. Not a slam. Not a shout. Just closure. Cold. Clean. Surgical. Exactly the way betrayal deserves to die. It didn't take long for the first shot to come. By noon the next day, I got a text from Carla. Can we just talk? Please? For Ryan's sake. Amazing how fast "I'm busy having dinner" turns into "please" when the lifeline gets cut. I didn't respond. I wasn't interested in theater. By 3 p.m., she'd email me too. Longer this time. Full of regrets and misunderstandings, and the obligatory "stress has been making me act out of character" line. She even dared to toss in a Hail Mary. You've always been my rock. I know we can get through this. Right. I was her rock. All right. Until she found it easier to dance on my son's bruised shoulders to impress her parasitic parents. I left her email unread, just enough for her to see the scene notification and stew in it. Silence was the cruelest language she never learned to understand. But silence didn't mean inaction. While she scrambled behind closed doors, spinning stories to her mother, her friends, probably even the guy at the grocery store checkout, I was 2 steps ahead. That night, I sat with Ryan. We built a Lego set on the living room floor. Something simple, something normal. His head was still bandaged, a small square of gauze taped to his temple. Every now and then he'd wince, but he'd flash a brave little smile like he was trying to spare me the worry. You're doing good, buddy, I said, handing him another brick. Dad, yeah. Are you mad at Mom? I didn't answer right away. Because how do you explain to a kid that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you don't? Instead, I ruffled his hair and said, I'm not mad at you. That's what matters. He nodded and went back to building his little castle with moats and towers. I watched him work and made myself a quiet promise. I would never let people who considered my son an inconvenience control anything about his future. The next day, the real fun began. Because Carla? She got smart. Or at least she thought she did. She called my boss. Tried to subtly suggest that maybe I wasn't mentally stable after the stress of Ryan's injury. She didn't frame it as an accusation. No. She packaged it like concern. Fake little sighs. I'm just so worried about him, you know? Luckily for me, my boss is an old army guy who's known me for years. After the call, he just swung by my desk, dropped a Snickers bar next to my keyboard, and said, Your ex trying to start a smear campaign? Don't worry about it. I've seen tougher men break softer. I smiled, took the candy, didn't miss a beat. Because while she was busy pulling strings, I was busy cutting them. That evening, Carla showed up at the house. Uninvited. I heard her heels click up the front steps. Heard the telltale sigh she always gave when she wasn't immediately let in. Heard the 3 short, impatient knocks. I opened the door just wide enough to step out and close it firmly behind me, blocking her view of Ryan inside. She looked different. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Wearing a sweatshirt like she thought dressing down would make her look motherly again. The Academy Award for Most Desperate Performance goes to. "Can we please just be civil?" she said, voice small. "Civil ended when you chose steak over a hospital bed," I said evenly. Tears welled up instantly. God, she was good at cueing the waterworks. If she could cry on command back when we were married, maybe she should have gone into acting instead of freeloading. I was scared, she blurted. I didn't know how to handle it. My parents were already upset. "Your parents?" I repeated, my voice low. Who cares what they felt? I stepped in close enough for her to smell the coffee and bitterness rolling off me. I care about my son, not appearances. Not who was having duck à l'orange at some overpriced restaurant. My son. Her mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. But I wasn't done. "You want civil?" I said. "Fine. Civil means we handle this in court." I held up my phone, showing her the screen. Family lawyer on speed dial. Already filing. I watched as her face crumpled, her brain probably racing through the kind of settlement she was about to lose. The cushy house. The comfortable handouts. The easy life tied to a man she thought would just swallow disrespect like it was air. Not anymore. "You taught me something important, Carla," I said, stepping back toward the door. She sniffed, blinking up at me hopefully. "You taught me that trusting the wrong people doesn't make you loyal. It makes you stupid." Then I shut the door in her face. No yelling. No scene. Just the cold, quiet slam of a life officially shutting her out. 3 days after I shut the door on Carla's face, the real attack came. A lawyer's letter slid into my mailbox like a snake under the door. Demanding joint custody. Demanding spousal support. Claiming emotional distress over the sudden financial hardship I'd caused by recklessly canceling her parents' lifelines. I stood there on the porch reading the letter, the late autumn wind cutting through my jacket, and I laughed. A real, sharp, ugly laugh. One of those laughs that tastes like blood and iron. She didn't get it. She still thought this was about money. She still thought this was a negotiation. I went inside, tossed the letter onto the kitchen counter like it was junk mail, and picked up my phone. Enter Mark Sheffield. Best damn family attorney in the tri-state area. Aggressive. Meticulous. And, more importantly, a man who absolutely hates frauds and manipulators. We spent an entire Saturday building my case. Every message. Every group chat screenshot. Every medical record from Ryan's hospital visit. Witness statements from nurses who noted that only one parent stayed overnight. The kicker? A financial audit showing Carla's spending habits, luxury items, spa treatments, pricey dinners, all charged during the same window of time her lawyer claimed she was financially distressed. Hypocrisy, served on a silver platter. Mark just leaned back in his chair after reviewing it all and said, "This isn't a defense, Mr. Alcott. This is an execution." Monday morning, Mark fired back. A countersuit. Requesting full custody. Requesting no spousal support based on willful abandonment and malicious negligence. Requesting reimbursement for misuse of marital funds, funds spent on her parents' luxuries while ignoring our child's welfare. When Carla's lawyer got the paperwork, apparently he called her. And apparently she cried. Good. Maybe for once in her life she'd understand what it felt like to sit in a chair and watch helplessly as everything she built on someone else's back crumbled into dust. That night, she tried one last trick. She came back to the house. Not to yell. Not to plead. No. She brought her parents with her. Like some sad, broken cavalry. I heard the knock. I saw them through the peephole. Her father's smug face, arms crossed, as if he was going to intimidate me into saving them. Carla's mother with her fake designer bag and her real hatred simmering just under the surface. And Carla herself, looking like a woman who realized for the first time that crocodile tears don't fill empty bank accounts. I opened the door. Stood there silently. Her father stepped forward first. Of course he did. These people never know when their time is up. "You're making a mistake, son," he said, using the same condescending tone he used when he called Ryan soft. I stared at him, saying nothing. "You're throwing away your family over a little misunderstanding," her mother chimed in, all saccharine venom. still silent. And finally Carla, her voice breaking. Please. Just, please. We can fix this. For Ryan. Ah, there it was. The sudden use of my son's name, like it was a shield they could hide behind. Like he wasn't just a pawn to them until they needed leverage. I looked at all three of them, and I smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a forgiving one. A smile the way a closing cell door smiles at a condemned man. I already fixed it, I said. And then I closed the door again. This time, I locked it. Not just the deadbolt. Not just the handle. Courtrooms are strange places. They don't look like the movies. No dramatic music. No slow-motion shots. Just cheap carpeting, hard benches, and the hum of broken fluorescent lights. But none of that mattered. Because when Carla walked into that room, flanked by her parents like two wilted bodyguards, she already looked like she'd lost. She wore black, like she was the grieving party. Hair pulled back tight, a somber look painted across her face. A widow of her own bad choices. I almost admired the effort. Almost. She didn't look at me. Couldn't. Good. I didn't come here for tearful glances or guilt trips. I came for war. And I brought evidence as my artillery. Her lawyer started the show, painting Carla as a dedicated mother, a pillar of her family, and, naturally, the victim of emotional neglect. He tried to spin it all, the hospital abandonment, the text messages, the financial irresponsibility, as simple miscommunication or one-off mistakes. Mistakes, he said, that didn't reflect her ability to be a good mother. I didn't say a word, didn't even twitch. Because patience is the deadliest weapon in a courtroom. When it was my lawyer's turn, Mark didn't raise his voice. He didn't make it dramatic. He simply laid the truth out flat, like a butcher laying meat on a counter. He read the ER timeline. He projected the text messages on a screen for the judge to see. Me, my son is in the emergency room. Her, I'm busy with my parents, we're having dinner. No editing. No exaggeration. Just cold, brutal facts. Then he showed the group chat screenshots where her parents mocked my son. He showed the receipts, luxury spending sprees during the months Carla now claimed she was financially desperate. And finally, he played the voicemail. Because, see, Carla's mother had called my number after the cutoff and left a little gem of a voicemail that I kept. A slurred, angry rant where she called Ryan a drama queen and me a bleeding heart idiot. That was the kill shot. You could feel the shift in the room. The silence grew heavier. The judge's expression hardened. Even Carla's own lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. When it came time for the ruling, it wasn't dramatic. No banging gavel. No shouting. Just the judge leaning forward, voice low and serious. Full custody to the father. No spousal support awarded. Visitation rights for the mother pending mandatory counseling and a 12-month review. Furthermore, given the documented financial misconduct, the court grants Mr. Alcott the right to seek restitution for misappropriated marital funds if he chooses to pursue civil action. Translation? Not only did I get Ryan, I got everything that mattered. And she? She got nothing but the ashes of her own games. You ever breathe air so clean it almost stings? That's what it felt like walking out of that courthouse with Ryan's small hand in mine. No weight on my shoulders anymore. No pretending anymore. No compromises. Just me, my boy, and a future no one could hijack. First thing I did? We moved. I wasn't about to let him stay in that old house, with memories that could crawl through the walls and suffocate us at night. No, we needed new air. I found a small place across town. Nothing flashy. Ryan didn't need marble countertops or 3-car garages. He needed a backyard big enough to kick a soccer ball around. A living room warm enough to fall asleep in during movie nights. We spent our first weekend eating pizza on the floor, surrounded by unopened boxes. Ryan crashed halfway through the Iron Giant, curled up against my side, breathing deep and safe. For the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't even realized I'd lost. Peace. Meanwhile, Carla's life started unraveling fast. Word spreads in a town like ours. The perfect little image she'd built, the doting wife, the successful socialite, the victimized single mother, it cracked under the weight of the truth. Her parents tried to help her, of course. They always did. Problem was, without my income propping them up, they were flailing too. Their house? Foreclosure notice. Their fancy car? Repoed right out of the driveway. Their country club membership? Suspended. Turns out, charity lunches don't accept my son-in-law used to pay as a valid excuse. Carla tried picking up some freelance work, social media management, marketing gigs, but the jobs were thin, and her reputation thinner. Nobody wants to hand the keys to their business to someone known for blowing up her own family over lobster bisque and empty wine bottles. Every time I heard a new story about how hard things were for her, you know what I felt? Nothing. Not pity. Not glee. Just nothing. Because some people don't deserve your anger. Some people deserve your absence. One night, maybe 2 months after the court ruling, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, curiosity got the better of me. I played it back, just once. It was Carla. Her voice raw, stripped of all that fake polish. I miss him. I miss you both. Please, can't we just go back? A long, shaky breath. I made mistakes, I know, but he needs his mother too. Please think about it. I deleted the voicemail, without saving it, without responding. Because here's the thing. Forgiveness is earned, not begged. Not whined for at midnight when the walls start closing in. And she burned that bridge so thoroughly that there wasn't even ash left to bury. Me and Ryan? We started new traditions. No more waiting for people who never showed up. No more making room at the table for people who resented every bite. It was just the two of us. Fishing trips, bike rides through the park, campfires in the backyard. The kind of life he deserved. The kind of life I fought for. One night, as we roasted marshmallows and he told me about the comic book he was writing, he looked up at me and said, "Dad, I'm glad it's just us." I didn't cry. I just smiled into the firelight and handed him another marshmallow. Because some victories? They don't come with confetti or trophies. They come with a kid smiling under the stars. And that's better than anything she could have ever offered.